All right. Andreas, you get the first topic there.
Oh yeah. So this was just a reminder that what we discussed last week with infrastructure, that we sort of
Right.
committing towards upgrading to Postgres 11 with 12.10, which is about to come in April, I think. And I was just wondering if there's something left that we have to address until that point in time, particularly for development. I know there's a lot of things in progress. I just wanted to ask and make it more visible.
Yeah, not that I'm aware of. I still have a question out there, and I should have linked the issue here. But what happened during the last upgrade? Because none of us were here for the last upgrade, because it's been at least 2 years since they did an upgrade on .com for PostgreSQL. So I'm not sure if there's a testing or certification process that they did. Like Jerry asked during that meeting, what's the certification we need to get the thumbs up to go forward with this? So I have a test out to Tanya and the QA folks to see if maybe there's a way they can start testing on some of the reference architecture. So the two to 50K reference architectures that we have, to see if they can test against that on Postgres 11. But other than that, I'm still gathering feedback. I don't know what is required. If we don't have anything listed, we'll just have to figure it out ourselves and start documenting that. So still waiting to figure it out, and it'll help us next time we do it. What steps did we do last time? What can we do better next time? So I'll make sure that we get it documented.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, the upgrade was, I think, even more than 2 years ago, the last one.
Yeah.
So I think probably anything we did at that time probably do different today. Anyways.
And even getting specific, I'm assuming we're going with latest on 11, which is 11.6. But Postgres does quarterly releases, and there's one scheduled this February, this month. So are we going to take that minor version, or are we going to stick with 11.6 until 7 has been out long enough that we trust it? What's the process there? So
I think typically the minor versions are not a problem with Postgres. I think typically you'd say that the not upgrading is riskier than actually going with the latest minor release because they have a lot of fixes in that.
yep.
And it's a really good question. It's also a question how we deal with this on GitLab.com, for example, and also what we package into Omnibus. I'm not even sure if we did any minor upgrades on GitLab.com in the recent year or so for 9.6.
Okay. So even more things we need to figure out. So maybe I will spin up a specific issue for this if I haven't already, for future looking. All right. And you had the next one as well.
Yes. So we prepared the change for structure SQL. And this is mostly done. I think it's just missing one more spec I would like to add. But other than that, it's only waiting for an omnibus and charts issue that we discovered. Question is if we should push our issue out to 12.9 because it's dependent on the omnibus issue. And it sounded like the distribution team was picking that up only in the next milestone.
Yeah, if they're not going to pick it up until next milestone, then might as well move it. It sounds like we're blocked until then. Okay.
Cool. How do we make sure it's being picked up with the next milestone? It sounded like they were considering it, but I'm not sure about the process, how to signal boost that.
Did you already comment on the issue? That's the only thing I think of, is make sure we comment on issue and prioritization. So do you have a link to the issue? We can all pile on and make sure
Yeah, sure.
Larissa and Josh know.
Looks like my computer is busy with Zoom. Might take a little moment.
Okay, yeah, just add the link later on. So
Yep.
I'm just making a note to follow up later today since you're going to go offline soon. All right. Cool. Yeah, I'll comment on that and ping Josh and Larissa later today. So contribute, we have a whole day set aside for team-like activities. I'm still waiting for budget guidance, examples. You've gone to a couple, or how many contributes have you gone to, Andreas?
2.
Okay. Did they do team days before?
As far as I remember, we had team dinner in the last contribute, but not a whole day.
Okay. All I've been told so far is that we have a whole day and that the managers are responsible for figuring out what the team's going to do. And I'm still waiting for more information on what the guidance is. If there's a budget, if we're, if it's maybe just like a hack day where we just sit down and do things, or in this case, you sit down and do something because Pat's not coming. And since only half the memory team is coming, probably just combine. So there'll be like 4 or 5 of us total. So maybe we can figure out something. Well, we will figure out something. I just have no idea what it is at this point in time. So
I just remember I asked at some point if the group of database reviewers and maintainers would like to meet at contribute, and it sounded like we were probably meeting for coffee and beers or so. But that will be on a different day, I guess.
Yeah. Yep. It's this issue here. Yeah. I mean, if we have time during the team day and we can't fill it up with other things, that might be a good candidate. So, but it's going to depend on what all their teams are doing too. So more to come, and hopefully that coronavirus doesn't outbreak in Europe and shut all of this down. So, right.
Yep.
All right, and then I still haven't done much. I know Andreas has added to the 12.9 planning issue. I haven't spent any time on it. The memory team meeting was just before this, and we are going to follow on this model of what we did in the past. So we take the planning issue and we identify the issues that we are targeting for the milestone. And then everybody jumps in, reads the issues, talks about what they feel the impact of the issue is, and then they will upvote them. So, this one will have a good impact for customers, or, provide this level of value, and then vote on the weights as well. And then from there, we'll prioritize the milestone accordingly. So that's the path we're going to continue forward with on memory team. And I just wanted to see if that made sense for us, or if that's a little too heavy-handed considering there's only 2 of you right now. Any thoughts?
Oh, we could start a little bit lighter, maybe, but gathering those issues and discussing them, I think that makes a lot of sense. What kind of weighting do you use in the memory team?
It's in the handbook. And we essentially copied it from another team. So anything above a 5 should be broken down. You can put so we follow Fibonacci sequence, sorry. And if it's above a 5, then it should be targeted for breaking down.
Mm-hmm.
I can add a link here. So for now, I will continue to, we all can continue to add issues to the milestone planning issue. And sounds like we'll go more lightweight for now. Just talk about what makes the most sense to approach. I think we have a pretty good idea of the things we need to try to accomplish in the next couple milestones. Every team's a little different. We have a lot of competing priorities. So that's why we came up with that process. So.
Mm. What's the timing for the planning? When should it be finished for kickoff and all that?
Yeah, prior to the next start.
Okay.
Not urgent. I don't know. Is there a cutoff that we want, or again, just continue to work on it and then we'll figure out our cadence? Because like Scrum and other processes I've been in, they're fairly prescriptive. You need to have like 2 or 3 sprints planned out in advance that are pretty well understood, weighted, prioritized, and all those things. And we're not there. I don't think we need to be there for a while. I think we have a lot of dependencies that even if we tried to plan our milestones, even one ahead, would probably get interrupted, just like this omnibus issue you brought up, right? We're dependent on another team. So if we had planned to complete this in 12/8, the rest of our planning, if it's dependent, would be thrown out. So we can continue with a Kanban style approach. If trying to plan a whole milestone just doesn't make sense, then we can just talk about weekly what we're trying to work on this week and understand what the bigger picture is.
Mm.
So it sounds like, without actually coming out and saying we want this methodology, it sounds like we're sticking more towards a Kanban approach, and we can just review the priorities on a weekly basis.
Sure. I mean, from my side, we can totally try any of these.
Okay. Without being super heavy-handed as well. So is there anything in the current milestone that feels like it's not going to make it? Rob, maybe this one.
Yeah, quite a bit. So this one doesn't even make a lot of sense for GitLab Com anymore because we're not going PG12.
Okay.
It's still interesting for the community maybe to get this kind of feedback.
Should we move it to the backlog and just comment that we're not targeting PG12 for .com right now?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay. Pat, you feeling all right about this one?
Yeah, that one is fine.
Okay. And then this one doesn't have anybody. Does it feel like anybody gonna be able to pick this one up? Oh, this is the one that's kind of gone back and forth on feedback, hasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Not sure what to do with this one. Should we just leave it for now and see if anybody has time to take a look at it when they come off their current signed issues?
Yeah. For this one, I was also wondering if that is something we should tackle, or maybe because it sounded like it was introduced by a migration change.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's gone back and forth with This is broken, run the migration, still broken, run the migration. So yeah, let's talk about it next week if anybody has time to look at it. It's not a high priority, clearly. All right, so how are the timeouts going, Pat?
Yeah, so that was when we had a conversation about this morning. It's just really a very broad ticket. It's not really, I think it would, to really like fix the timeouts would require probably significant changes. It's not really clear what ones are the most problematic. It's just sort of like, oh, they're failing randomly across a variety of places. So we kind of wanted to have a conversation maybe with product and try to get a better feel for what actually is the priority here, and making it more of a something that can be worked on and kind of doing it the right way instead of just trying to patch one query that then next week it'll just be a different query that's broken.
Okay.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Maybe the question that we can ask is if we actually want to focus on a search, on improving database search, and maybe even be more specific about which type of search we want to improve as a team, instead of trying to patch those queries.
I mean, this one seems like a fairly basic use case, at least the one that they are calling out, right? You just type one word into the free text. Sorry, into the search text box. Sorry, I'm clicking on that. I don't mean to. Considering that's a fairly basic use case, is there a way to just locally optimize that? Or would that cause us problems elsewhere?
I think it's really tricky if you look at it on the code side. So we discussed this earlier as well. There are very flexible finders in play that we use, and I think we shouldn't try to patch them for certain cases because that really adds to the complexity. We're already doing that in some cases, and it's not great. But if instead we were saying like, oh, we want to, this is project search, right? We search within GitLab the project, and we're looking for text. If we wanted to optimize this case, I think we shouldn't try to patch those queries in, but instead extract those finders and implement something that works for project search, text search. That might not work for like global site search, but it's sort of a specialized way. And this takes a little bit more work than trying to come up with patches to any of the queries that we're making today, right?
Mm-hmm. Do we have any data on like what are the most common search failures? Maybe that would help us to narrow down where we could make more impactful changes. Or would we have to go and mine all that from Sentry or somewhere else?
Yeah, that was something we talked about too, is just kind of understanding where it's failing most commonly.
Do we even have an idea where we would look first? Is it Sentry? Is it those month or daily reports actually that we get?
We could probably also have insights from the logs in general, like figuring out what type of search is used. And the logs also have database timing, so that might be something that we can relate.
Okay. So what are the next steps? Sorry, go ahead.
I would say it's even when things are not 500, not resulting in a 500. I think when you wait for like 10 seconds or even longer in some cases, it's a broken feature.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a great experience, right?
Yeah, for sure. So what are the next steps on this issue then? Do we need to do more research to see where we can make the most impact? It sounds like you all wanted to talk to product to see how we should prioritize this.
I think the yeah, the question about priority is, I think, the next one, because fixing that in a more general sense, that requires more work.
Okay. I can ping Josh on the issue and see what he wants us to do. I think that's it. These two are fairly related. Frequently timing out and also timing out. Okay, that's it. Any other topics we need to cover today? Nope. All right. Thanks, everybody. Happy Monday.
All right. You too.
Yeah.
Bye.